So today is October 24th. This is the Economic and Community Development Committee. We have Andrew Clark and Joe Sanker and myself, James Bonsall, in attendance. Marilyn Hanrahan, she has had a family emergency, so she unfortunately is not able to be here today. The first item on the agenda is just a public comment on our agenda item. The agenda item is basically a Community Reinvestment Act application from HCDC, formerly, I guess, the Hamilton County Business Center, 1775 Mentor Avenue. Is there anybody that would like to speak on it that's not with the group? Yeah, okay, hearing none. So we'll go ahead and get into the application then. Keith, I'm glad you're here. I was basically, this is the first one that I've done since being on council, this CRA. So I was hoping possibly you might be able to give just a small overview of, I guess what it is. You can feel free to come up so the viewers at home can hear.
All right. Thank you very much. Basically, the idea of the CRA is if somebody builds a new building or somebody puts in a significant amount of money into an existing building, their property taxes will go up. The value of the property goes up and their property taxes go up. The CRA, we set up a community reinvestment area which covers the whole city, provides a tax abatement on that increase in the value. So you got, say, a $100,000 building and you do $50,000 worth of work. Now it's worth $150,000. The idea of a CRA would then pull back that 50, so you'd continue paying taxes on the 100,000. Although it's not quite that, that's very, very basic terms. The city will do a CRA up to 49% of the value. Beyond that, at least for commercial properties in particular, because that's what we're talking about, we'll do 49% of the value. Beyond that, what's required is an agreement with the school district. And some places have standing agreements, same with TIFs, have standing kind of agreements or terms under which, you can go forward that you've worked out with the school district. We have not, and the school district's kind of gone back and forth on their attitudes toward tax abatements and TIFs and all that kind of thing. So the application we have here, there's a process. The property owner submits it for commercial property. It's got to be at least $75,000 in increased value on renovations, and there's a process submitted. It's supposed to come in front of this committee for the committee to either make a decision or not make a decision or don't do anything. For commercial, any abatement on commercial property has to be pursuant to an agreement with council. Council has to ratify the final agreement. The residential ones, those just are happened by the building department, and they've done a number of them. People, submit the application. I'm doing, $40,000 in work on the house, and that whole process goes through the building department. But for the commercial ones, it has to be agreement by council. This one, we had the initial submission, $75,000, and I sent, and part of the process is you send notice to the school district. And then David followed up and said, well, we want to do a new one. We want to do one for what we think is going to happen over the next 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Significantly higher, and I sent that out to you after you said you're going to have me. Oh, by the way, they've kind of changed what they wanted to ask for. So that's the basic concept here.
Okay, great. And so when you say that the school system needs to approve it, have they given their blessing on this? Do they give it to you? Do they let you know that they're okay with it? Do they give it to the property owners? Like, how do we get that permission from?
The city's general policy for the last many, many years is it's up to a developer and owner to contact the school district to get a sense of where they are instead of having us try to go and negotiate on anybody's behalf. And I understand from David that he spoke with them, or spoke with some people from there, and they are sort of on board in concept with some of it. And that's about all I know. So I'd defer to them.
Well, we had actually, if you want to comment,
Come up to the.
Yeah, please.
Actually, you guys want to sit over here?
Oh, sure. We'll surround Joe.
Yes, no, you.
Yeah.
Welcome in. Yeah, that's great. What you were saying.
Yeah, and can you all state your names too, just for the record?
Okay, I'm David Main. I'm president of HCDC, which runs the HCDC Business Center on Menor Avenue.
And I'm Patrick Longo. I am Vice President of HCDC, and I'm the Director of the Business Center.
We actually met with Ernie Strasser, the treasurer for Norwood Schools, back on, it was either August 8th or August 9th. I've got a letter in there. Explain the situation, what we're looking at. And it kind of boils down to several things. One, we need to put some renovations in the building. Every time we put renovations in the building, our reward has been, our taxes have gone up. In fact, the taxes in the last 10 years have increased by 50%. We're paying well near $48,000 a year in annual taxes. We need to renovate to be competitive. The other issue we have is we have two competitors, one over in Oakley that pays no taxes because they're in a church, Ocean. We have another one down and over the Rhine that pays $7,000 in tax, less than $7,000 in taxes because they're in a TIF and they have a 15-year 100% CRA, so they're just paying it on the land. Why is that important? Because we're trying to run a race. We need to fix up the facility. We need to improve our co-working space. We need to add some lab space, and like I said, to be competitive. We are a nonprofit, so it isn't like we're not like some of the other entities that have some deep pockets that could just go in and do it. So that's why we're looking at this. We're not looking, and we explained to Mr. Strasser, we're not looking to reduce any existing taxes. We're willing to stay where they are, but we're requesting that they be frozen at the current levels. The other thing it would help us with is one of our funding sources through the State of Ohio Third Frontier Program. They expect the local community, in this case Norwood, to provide some type of cash contribution to the respective incubators, much as what the city of Cincinnati does with Centrifuge, and they do with, I believe they do with Brandery, and they do with Cincy Tech as well. We're not asking for any cash contributions from the city of Norwood. What we're asking for is approval of a 100% CRA agreement that would freeze the existing taxes. I'm not sure there's any other questions. I don't know how familiar you are with HCDC. I mean, in addition to the incubator, we've been making small business loans since 1983. We run the county economic development office since 1992. We also have economic development contracts in addition to the Hamilton County one. We have with the village of Woodlawn, the village of Laughlin, and Columbia Township to provide some in-depth economic development services and analysis in order to attract, retain, expand, and grow business and industry within the respective communities. I don't know, leave anything out?
They'll probably have questions about the incubator.
Okay, that's why I mean, we have roughly 52, 53 regular tenants. Annual payroll with the tenants, excluding HCDC, is in the $10 million range, plus or minus. We also have 17 co-works clients right now, something like that.
We're around 70 clients altogether, and these are physical science, IT, environmental, startups, early stage, and since 1989 we've been working with the areas of providing a place and a space, coaching, mentoring, and programming, an environment that's conducive to growing. And we must be doing something well because we're near all-time highs on number of people participating in our programming. You may have heard of this thing called Startup Cincy. It's this.
I've done that one.
It's this new initiative. It's a new initiative that we frankly started, back in the early 90s. And actually, the hashtag they used is a hashtag we used early on that they've adopted because it wasn't about us. It's about our community, and now our community, you see a lot of attention being spent in the over the Rhine central business district of the city. That's one of the chambers of the heart of entrepreneurship. You got Northern Kentucky, and they have some initiatives that are going on. You have Mason, Blue Ash, Sharonville, Westchester. They have, they're a chamber. The other chamber, frankly, is Norwood and Oakley and the University of Cincinnati areas in the Uptown. And we want to make sure that those things are, that our chamber is competitive and continues, because, the average age of our entrepreneur is not a millennial. We're not a 19 to 28-year-old. The average age of ours is probably between 35 and 55, who likes to be able to come to a facility like our own. But their needs are changing just like a millennial is changing. They want, meeting and greeting spaces. They want to have huddle rooms. They want to have the best Wi-Fi that we can provide. They also want to be able to say, hey, I've got a client coming. We're attractive. And these are things that are very key. Ocean is part of Crossroads. And if you probably have been around Crossroads, that's an attractive part of, there's a lot of redevelopment going on around there, and a lot of redevelopment going on, within the church property. The idea of being competitive, we're being shopped more than we've ever been shopped before. So, and it's something that we said, with the idea of co-works, and if you're not, the difference between incubation and co-works, incubation, you have your own space. You have your own lab, you have your own workshop, that sort of thing. Co-works is more of a shared environment, which is something that has become more popular over the last 2 to 4 years. What we're looking to do on our second floor across the street in the 1775 building is create about a 2,500 to 3,000 square foot facility that can house probably up to 45 of these co-work folks. But we also have a workshop space that's incorporated, meeting space, and also gathering space where they can just go and migrate together, congregate together, communicate together, maybe even work things out together. And that seems to be something that it's, we've seen it within our own facility. We're now seeing it in others. Centrifuge is nothing but a large co-working space. So they've got 35,000 square feet of space, in which probably 15 of it is just used for entrepreneurs. So we see that as something we want to be competitive within the space that we do compete in, which is the physical science, the engineers. They like being around us because of our central location.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. And just to follow up on something that Mr. Main said, I think he said that the annual earnings that comes out of HCDC is, excluding them, are just all these other companies that are there, is $10 million. And so for the city of Norwood, with a 2% earnings tax, that's $200,000 a year in impact on the city of Norwood's budget. So, and that, again, has nothing to do with property tax. That's earnings tax, and that's really where, the bulk of the benefit of HCDC comes from, is from that. So just want to make that noted, how important they are to the city of Norwood. So yeah, that sounds great. I've read some of your plans that you all submitted. It looks like it's going to be definitely a great thing for you all, especially to help you stay competitive. Mr. Moore, so I guess with this, the draft ordinance that you sent originally to us, is that still, do we need to change anything in that, or would that still be applicable for, with their new updates or new changes that they've proposed?
It would definitely have to be changed. That was done for a $75,000 worth of renovations and it would end within the year as opposed to over 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
It would have to be anything, all the renovations up to $1.5 million over the next 3 years. And, I've quite sat down and figured out exactly what that language would be, but that language would have to be modified as well, yes.
Okay.
So bottom line is, in reading that, we're looking at starting off about 150,000 investment, and then over the next 3 years be up to like 1.5 million.
That could be, yes.
So I guess the ordinance would then either I don't know whether it would be written that it would cap out at that, or is there like a plus or minus 10% type fudge number in there, or do you think the 1.5 would be like the maximum? You wouldn't anticipate going over that,
At this point, I would not anticipate going over that. That would probably even be somewhat of a stretch, but if something happens, we're all along the line, we wind up putting new windows in the 1776 facility. That's probably close to $700,000-800,000 just alone to re-window that building. And you say, well, you got windows now, what happens? Well, when the appraisers come out from the auditor's office and look at it, oh, this looks like a brand-new building, and we've just seen that go up. We've got some other things we probably are looking at down the road. A lot depends on what the demand is. There's a demand for lab space. If we fill up the lab space we've got, we may go in and improve the north wing. Many of the companies that will eventually come in there don't exist now, so it isn't like we can figure out who they are. We have an idea. Our best source of tenants actually comes from the UC College of Engineering and their physical science program. But we also have, we're getting life science companies. One that was just mentioned recently is expanding in the 1775 building. So I'm not sure how we would do it exactly. I don't know if it'd get up to $1 million and a half, but it could, depending on how the momentum is and what the demand is, and also what type of resources are out there.
I guess my point is, and I'd rather is what you were thinking also, but if you write an ordinance or council approves a CRA agreement to be, up to 150,000, well, once you reach that, then you're kind of like, oh, shoot, we should have went for this much more. So if 1.5 million would be kind of like what you would think would potentially be the tipping point, and whether there's, I don't know, even in the ordinance, whether you can even do like a plus or minus, 1.5 million plus or minus 10%. I don't know whether that's verbiage is feasible or possible. That way, if all of a sudden you do get new windows and it puts you over to 1.6 million, you say, oh, shoot, I guess we're on the hook for the balance, but I don't know.
I guess the only thing I would be concerned about is the plus or minus is we may only wind up with $500,000. We may wind up with $350,000, but.
Yeah, I'm just saying it'd be up to
that
much, but we wouldn't have to necessarily have the minus in there, but
Okay.
up to a certain amount. So if you start off in the first 2 years, you're doing 150, and then all of a sudden it really takes off, it still gives you that flexibility, so you're not limited on the maximum, except on the extreme level. So I don't know if that's.
I mean, we're comfortable with the numbers that we proposed. If there's a plus or minus 10% factor that goes in, if the city of Norwood says that's appropriate, we don't have any issue with something like that. We just see the next, 18 months to 36 months as being very, we haven't done much improvement in the facility for probably the last 5 to 7 years. So, and we're at that time where remodeling and reshaping some things is very important. We are seeing demand for lab space, having vented hoods and access for gas and things like that. Those aren't inexpensive, so if the demand continues to, right now if someone were to come to us and say we wanted a lab space, we probably have 125 square feet available, and we do have folks, right now we are in the process of rebuilding or reconstructing one of our floors. It's been approved by the building department, and we're putting probably between 50 and 60 grand in it as we speak for a company called Akron Systems, and those labs are being built so they can be reused. So that's a company that comes to us from the University of Cincinnati and from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So.
Let me, if I could, just on those kinds of technical questions, is what we've done, and I don't think that kind of sort of guessing on the dollar amount is really, getting close is not that big a deal. But most of the ones we've done have been, urology group is going to build a building. They think it's going to cost this much, and so here's the specific plan, and that's what's got the abatement on it. And for this, I've not done anything to dig in to figure out, well, how much detail would we need to get in there, and how far out can it stretch, and all the rest of that. Since I sent the notices, I figured, well, let's see if the committee, if the school, where they stand on one point, because $75,000 versus $1.5 million, there's a big difference there. And so before jumping in with both feet, I just wanted to get a sense of where everybody stood on the policy side of it. Whether it was, oh yeah, let's pursue this and do, jump through the hoops we have to jump through to get it done. Or yeah, that's too much, maybe we don't want to play that game. So,
Yeah, but, I was gonna say, Mr. Clark, what do you think about the policy side of it?
I'm okay with it. I had a question though about a couple of the plans.
Please. Yeah.
Is that okay now? So I was just looking at your proposal. The proposed projects you have in there, are those sort of like in the order that you wish to do them? Like, or, I'm looking at, sorry.
It's the one.
Okay.
Like, I didn't know if those are like listed as an order of importance to you, or I was just curious.
Well, I can tell you, let's see, there's 4 dots. The number 4 is in the process of being done
Okay.
as we speak. The first dot is the next priority. And then 2 and 3 are, 3 would be the most expensive, obviously 600 to 900. Board has had discussions about that. Asked Dave and I to look into, but we've not secured our funding for that. Point number 2, the renovate the north wing. I think it's based on demand, but that is one that the board would support. They already have supported number 1 and number 4. Number 2, they would support if I brought it to them tomorrow.
Okay.
Number 3 would be.
We would need to get some outside support. We could, I guess, technically borrow money, though we have no debt on the property. One time, we had $500,000 worth of debt on the property. We did, in the past, had some federal grants from the Economic Development Administration, but that was, the first one came when the General Motors plant closed. Just tell you how long ago that's been. The second one came when GE downsized in Evendale. So I'm not sure that we'd see much in the way of the federal government coming in again, but if we see the demand, there's more of an appetite for funding. So I think Pat pretty well explained it. It would probably be 1, and then 4, and then 2, and then 3 in that order.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean,
Oh, no, that's a good question.
I was just trying to, because you got good cost estimates in there, so I was just trying to total for myself. So no, that's great. It's exciting. I think heard a lot of good things about HCDC, so
Good, thank
it's
you.
very exciting.
Well, we are an economic development agency, and, I mean, this is one of the 3-legged stools. The incubator is our most visible, but we have the 2 other areas as well. But,
Yeah.
and I think we've had a good run. It's been a good location for us, as such, and I think the area around there is improving. I mean, we're seeing that, with the.
And I think that's where, like, point number 3 with the windows, we see what Xavier's doing, with, the retail segment, obviously the parking lot's nothing we can do anything about at the current time, but, Xavier kind of looks at us as our northeast outpost, and, obviously we've had conversations about opening up the gate, and I think that's going to come, where we're going to see a little bit more pass-through with some bollards where we don't have cars going through at the end of our street, but more student activity, because almost all of our neighbors are students, for the most part in our neighborhood, so we're seeing more and more activity. But we're also seeing more engagement. I mean, last March, we had an activity over at Xavier where we did a showcase of all of our clients. And I think it would have been really cool to be able to just kind of pass through, that area and have people who, after the event could, hey, let's come over and tour our facility, stay parked at Xavier, but just walk on over. So I see some things, but just, I think the housing stock's improving around us. We see that, that's fantastic. So I think, we've done a good job, we feel, but we also know that we got to continue to be a leader in that quadrant.
Excellent. And Mr. Moore, so, like right now, it looks like, I think I added both of their buildings up. It looks like they're about like $650,000 of assessed value or something like that. But like when they change these windows out, they might spend $600,000 on these windows. That's not going to increase their property value though by $600,000. What did, normally?
I think our appraised value is a little higher than that.
About 1.7 million.
Oh, is it 1 point? Okay, I might have been looking at the weird.
I think
okay.
we got 6 parcels altogether.
Yeah, I counted the two largest of the 6, and they total I've got it here somewhere, 1.7 million and some change.
Okay. So, well, either way, I mean, like.
well, The building department sends, as I understand it, they send the building permits that are higher end, bigger dollars to the county, and the county uses that as a place to start. How the county ends up in their final numbers, I couldn't tell you in a million years. And especially when you move over to what is essentially rental property, it's a place with tenants. And so for commercial property of that kind, as opposed to a factory, the technical valuation is more based on the income stream than it is on the resale value of the physical plant. So what the county would do with, what they do with those upgrades and how they do that, or whether they send somebody out and say, well, it looks a lot better now, we'll look at, I have no idea exactly how that would figure, but it certainly would go up. You put $500,000 into that, but that, the county's gonna say, that's definitely worth more than it was, so we're gonna have to do something with it.
I think originally, we might have paid close to $6,000 a year in taxes when we bought the facilities, the one in 1989. But I think the other thing, what I seem to hear when an assessor comes out is, well, you've got more office, or you got more lab than you do warehouse space, and they tend to address those differently. Also, the amount of square footage they look at too, and I think they somehow come up with about 90,000 square feet. We've got 72, I think, is rentable. So there's a lot of space that's load factor that we can't do much with.
Okay, excellent. So at this point, you said you have not had a conversation with the schools with this exact proposal. Is that correct? Like the 3 year, or over the next 3 years, up to 1.5 million improvements there?
I think actually the letter that I sent out to council, and I might have copied you on, Keith, as well, was pretty much the same letter that we sent to Ernie Strasser, because that night he said he was going to the school board. And the feedback I got was, at least verbally, they seem to be copacetic with it. Now, I had a call into him, I have not heard back from him, I will try to follow up with that again. I know they've got a levy on the ballot, so they may not want to do much publicly with it right now. And
We don't have a letter or anything that states.
I don't have a letter.
Yes.
Okay.
We just have anecdotal.
I was gonna say, I mean, I don't, this wouldn't get voted on, I wouldn't think, until even if we did send to council until, well, do we have a council meeting on election night, November 8th? Second Tuesday, or?
I guess so.
I guess so, okay, I just wanted to make sure, yeah, so.
This isn't a voting place, so.
I agree, but, we cancel it for the parade, I just didn't know if but the parade happens at that exact time, it's a big thing, so, okay, good to know, so, yeah.
I don't think council can vote to approve it until the school district has done their part of it, as I recall from going through the ordinance and the statute, so.
Excellent. And so basically, what do they need to provide us from the school? A letter, basically?
We need a resolution that says, approving an agreement that covers covers this.
So from the actual school board, we need the
Yeah.
resolution from them? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 49% we could do,
Right.
the next meeting,
Okay.
but the 100%, we both have to have an agree, we can't vote on it and then say, well, the school shut it down, it has to be a combined vote from both parties there.
Okay, perfect. So,
And which is probably the best way to go anyway, since they've got a bigger stake in it.
yeah,
So.
definitely.
All right. Yeah, at the time, we had mentioned between 500 and 750,000. And that was before we started looking at windows and that. And you look at the space enough, you see what seems to be happening, and as you step back and compare if you get down there sometime, you compare 75 to 76, the building to the south versus the smaller building versus to the north. And even though we cleaned up the brick on the north, there's a story behind why we didn't clean up the building on the south, but that's another. Ned Ford put different colored brick on it when it was a single-story building. He added 3 floors to it, and the brick was a different color. And they tried, and it was not going to work. So we can, I guess what I can do is I'll try to follow up again with Ernie Strasser and then even talk to Rob Amodia again.
Yeah, and basically, if you just get a resolution from them, I would maybe work with Mr. Moore to find out exactly what that resolution might need to say. I don't know exactly what it needs to say, but
We've got language. I mean, we've modeled
Okay.
language. I did a draft and
Okay.
sent it to him, so for
Perfect.
75,000, so.
Keith, did you get what we sent back with some requested changes and things from Harry Blanton?
Way back
This would be in
when?
the last couple of weeks.
I don't think I've
I don't know
got
if you sent
anything.
it. I don't know if you
I don't
sent
think I've
it.
got anything in the
Okay.
last
We'll check
couple
with Harry.
weeks, so,
So we'll make sure we connect.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, because Tim was with us.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, we can do that. We'll follow up with that.
But then we need what I'm hearing is we need to get some type of official action from Norwood City Schools.
Yes, from the school board, yeah.
Okay.
Very well.
So are we, as a committee, okay, once they get that action, to go ahead and, throw the ordinance onto the council agenda at the next, whatever that next council meeting will be afterwards, or do we want to meet again to?
I would say so, yep. I mean, from,
I'm in favor.
Okay,
just a matter of getting a letter of agreement or something from the schools confirming that we're on board, as long as the city's on board or something to that effect, and move on. So, forward, I should say.
yeah, so I guess, consider us, as a policy, or, on its face, I guess consider it as, we're fine with moving forward, and it just as soon as you get the school district to approve that, we'll push it to our next council meeting at that point, so, whenever that falls. Excellent.
Sounds good.
Good.
Awesome, thanks you all.
We thank
Thank you.
the committee.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
so much.
Awesome. There is one more topic I want to discuss as a committee before we leave.
Good to see you.
Yeah. We'll be done here in like 2 minutes, so I'll definitely want to say something to you before you leave about the Venture Avenue gate, so.
Do you need me to stay?
Oh, no, yeah, I'll be right over there, yeah, I'll be right there, so.
I may hang around too, I want to hear about it.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So, right now we kind of schedule these meetings, I guess, ad hocly, on an ad hoc basis. I was kind of thinking, though, that we might want to consider just having a standing date, like, of the month for the, this committee meeting. So, and if we have agenda items, that's great. If we don't have agenda items, we could cancel it. But I didn't know if you all thought that might be a good idea, just for when these kind of things come up, or just any topics in general that affect economic development in the city. I was hoping to kind of get something like maybe the third Monday of the month or something on there. Would you?
Doesn't bother me, as long as, like you said, if there's nothing on, we're not gonna meet just to
Yeah,
kind of look at each other.
absolutely, yes, yes. And
I
we
know
could-
what you mean, but I would think if we could have a standing meeting, and if there's really nothing pertinent, just, hey, community development's canceled for this week or whatever, or this month. So,
Okay, awesome, cool. I'll go by email then to find out when we might do that.
Yeah.
And if we could also move it to, let's just say that, you have something coming up on that one Monday, if there's a graduation or something, we could be
Yeah.
flexible around that.
But right now, I mean, Mondays work pretty good for you.
Yeah, I'm
So, I
usually
mean,
open
if,
Monday.
just if traffic from Westchester,
Yeah.
I mean, I did pretty good though, really. But it
Yeah,
was-
no.
But anyway, if that would be the only, but I would say the third Monday or whatever this Monday is,
Okay,
whatever you want to set it at, would be fine.
perfect. Okay, great. Well, I appreciate it. So if there's no other business, then I guess we can adjourn, so.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.